Have you ever felt pain without knowing why? A vague ache, not intense, nameless, but persistent like a piece of warm ash in an old coal stove. I call it nameless pain. Maybe it's the stiffness in your shoulders when you wake up in the morning, a back as stiff as wood, cold hands even when it's not cold outside, a missed heartbeat, or a sigh that no one can hear but you. Others can't see it. Doctors can't measure it. Ultrasounds don't show it. But you know, something inside you is broken. Do you have those pains? Where are they in you? I started to notice those pains after one morning. I sat breathing and suddenly felt my heart was tight. Not a heart attack, but an invisible pressure across my chest, as if I were carrying a rock of memory that no one could see. At first I thought, maybe it's just age. Maybe it's stress, lack of sleep, lack of exercise. But as I sat with my own body, for the first time in years, I heard a very small, very deep explosion inside. An explosion doesn't break anything, but it raises a hunch. This body is talking to me, not asking for medicine, but asking to live. I am reminded of calcination, the first stage in alchemy, where raw metal is put into a furnace and heated with a very hot fire, so that all impurities evaporate, leaving only the refined part that can be used to make gold. Fulcanelli writes, every soul must pass through fire if it is to become light, and every body is the first furnace. That sentence made me shudder, because I realized maybe my body was a furnace. The pain wasn't a sign of trouble. It was the sound of the fire at work. I, and maybe you too, are entering a phase where life is no longer about accumulation, but about refinement. It's no longer about having more. It's about letting go. Letting go of assumptions, letting go of burdens, letting go of images that I've clung to for decades. The pain has no name. Maybe it doesn't need to be treated, but needs to be heard. I started listening to myself. I noted down when I was in pain. I observed every gesture when I walked, talked, carried work, pretended not to be tired, laughed it off, and I gradually understood. What hurt me was not old age, not my body's weakness. It's the price I paid for being too strong, too quiet, too good at holding back. Pain does not come to signal the end. It is the beginning of a simple but not easy journey, the journey back to this body, like a friend that has been forgotten for too long. Can you try it? No more pills, no more strenuous exercise, no rush. Just sit down with yourself and ask your body, where does it hurt? What do you want from me? You will be surprised how the body can respond, not with words, but with deep silence. I still hurt. There is no miracle. But now, I am no longer alone in that pain, because I understand the fire is at work, and I am beginning to become gold, little by little, from the ashes of the old years. The pain has no name, not to kill you, but to teach you to look back at the parts of your soul that you have forgotten in the years you were too busy living. Have you ever taken medication for months without feeling any better? You go to the doctor. The doctor changes the prescription. You take it regularly. You do the work. You abstain. You listen. You believe, but every morning, My body is still heavy. My legs are still tired. My shoulders are still tense. And an invisible fatigue still clings like a layer of mist in my chest that won't dissipate. I have had days like that. I call them periods of doubt. Don't doubt the doctor. Don't doubt the medicine. Doubt your own body. Why don't you get better? I've done enough. What more do you want from me? I used to ask my body like that, taking medicine and being angry. But you know what? The angrier I get, the more pain I feel. The harder I try, the more tired I get. And then, one night, as I sat huddled in my chair with a dull ache in my stomach, I reread a Fulcanelli passage from a book I had abandoned. He wrote, "If the metal is not fire-resistant enough, then all mixtures are useless. No chemical can replace the firing stage. The alchemist must be patient, letting the fire choose its own rhythm." I stopped. I read it again. Then I shivered slightly, because I realized I was using drugs as a way to prevent fire, not to understand fire. I no longer ask, what is burning inside me? I just ask, when will it stop? And that was my mistake. And probably many others too. From that day on, I changed my perspective. I still take medication. But I don't see medication as a fix. I see it as a companion. I began to wonder, what is each of these pills helping me through? Why did the body choose to hurt in that place at this time? Have you noticed? Pain doesn't come randomly. It has a schedule, it has a location, it has a frequency. And if you listen closely, that pain is saying something. For example, when I have knee pain, it's because I try to go faster than I really should. My body stops me. When I have a stomach ache, I realize I'm swallowing too many things that I can't digest. And when my neck and shoulders ache, I am straining to hold on to an image that inside I no longer believe. Calcination is not a punishment. It is a process of unmasking. Fire does not come to destroy. Fire comes to reveal. Are you at this stage? When the medication starts to wear off, and you start wondering, what is deeper beneath these pains? If so, try pausing for a moment. Not to reject treatment, but to engage with it more deeply. Alchemists do not fear fire. They accept being burned because they believe that at the end of the day, what remains is gold. I used to think I had to get better, but now I just want to understand what is being healed. Because there are things that cannot be cured with medicine. They can only be cured by returning to yourself. I take the medicine as a ritual. I breathe with it. I don't ask for the pain to go away. I ask for clarity about what the pain is trying to teach me. I started to feel different. Not cured, but no longer afraid of illness. And that is a form of healing that no prescription can prescribe. When the medicine fails, it is not a failure. It is an invitation from your soul, saying, now is the time to sit with me, listen to me, and walk through the fire. Together, we grow up in a world that teaches us that the body is something to be kept, a physical shell that needs to be maintained, upheld, and weathered. But few people teach us that the body is a furnace, a machine more sophisticated than any laboratory, operating constantly to separate, filter, transform, and elevate. Have you ever stopped, not to fix your body, but to admire it? I started that journey on a painful night, sitting there holding my stomach, unable to close my eyes, not because the pain was so bad, but because I didn't know why I was in pain anymore. All tests were normal. No inflammation, no lesions, no diagnosis, just a bad feeling. That night, I opened an ancient drawing, a medieval illustration of an alchemist's box, with jars, tubes, different zones of fire, each with a name: Negredo, Calcinatio, Sublimatio. And suddenly I saw. That image strangely resembled my body. The liver as the melting point of raw metals. The lungs, where gases are filtered and toxins are released. The stomach, the distillation pot. The intestines as the distillation tubes. The skin, the membrane that holds the pressure. The bones, the mold that holds the heat. I shivered, not because of the cold, but because for the first time, I didn't see my body as a victim of time. I saw myself as a sacred laboratory, performing an ancient ritual, a ritual of transformation. Fulcanelli once wrote, "A true alchemist does nothing new. He just observes so closely that everything reveals its true nature." And I, that night, stopped asking how to stop the pain and started asking what is being transformed in me. That stomachache, I realized, wasn't there to torment me. It was a warning that I had swallowed too many emotions, too many words unsaid, too many wounds undigested. Every time I sit still and breathe into my belly, I feel a dark, smoldering ashes of the years I didn't cry. The body never forgets. It holds every experience, every silence, every burden we thought we had overcome. But overcoming doesn't mean digesting. Sometimes it's just postponing, and the body, more faithful than the mind, will always rekindle the fire in the exact spot that needs retraining. Can you try it one day? Do nothing. Just observe your body like an alchemist. You will feel your heart beat strangely when you are angry. Your liver will heat up when you are suffering. Your lungs will be shallow when you are afraid. And your stomach will tighten when you are not telling the truth. Ancient alchemists were not magicians. They were observers, and perhaps today's healer needs just that. No need to do anything big. Just listen. See. Look back at the body like a furnace working on its own. I stopped fighting the pain. I started sitting with it. When my heart is pounding, I don't ask, "What's wrong?" I ask, "What are you talking about?" When my back hurts, I don't ask, "Is it arthritis?" I ask, "What am I carrying that I don't need to carry anymore?" I live differently. I no longer see my body as me. I see it as a friend who is suffering the fire in place of my soul that has not yet grown up. Maybe you are in that furnace too. Every pain is a fire, not to burn, but to illuminate. Try sitting down, not to fix your body, but to honor it. The body does not need to be fixed. It needs to be recognized as the greatest laboratory where alchemy is repeated in every heartbeat, every breath, every silent sleep. One day, I stopped trying to make the pain go away. I just sat next to it and asked softly, "What are you trying to say?" That question was perhaps one of the most alchemical moments I have ever experienced in my life. Since when do we consider pain as an enemy? Since when did we learn to stop it before we even asked where it came from? Pain doesn't always need to be cured. Sometimes it just needs to be heard. The pain in the back of my neck, every morning it's there, like someone's waiting for me at the bathroom door. First I used oil, then salon pus, then yoga, then physical therapy. It all helps, but it doesn't go away. One night, lying alone on the floor, I put my hand on the back of my neck and breathed very slowly. I don't ask for pain relief. I just listen. And the strange thing is I can hear it, not with the ears, but with a very deep hearing that we only use when we are too tired to resist. That voice, not a human voice, but a feeling I've been holding on for too long. I've been carrying the image of a strong person for too long. I've kept my head up even when my heart was down. My neck can't take it anymore. It hurts to stop, to bend, to let go. From there, I started asking each painful area in my body, who are you? When did you come? What do you bring? That has not been said. My knees said I have knelt before life for too long without being embraced. My stomach said I am holding back all the things you cannot digest from memory, from fear, from unspoken words. My hands said I long to let go, but you keep holding the work you worry about. I started writing, not symptoms, but the language of pain. Fulcanelli once emphasized in a small footnote, no fire burns without purpose. Every burning place is a place too long covered by the soul's forgetfulness. Do you have a pain that has been with you for too long? A pain you no longer hate but have never understood. Try to listen to it. Not with your ears, but with your heart. No need to ask what happened, but asked, why are you back at this hour? The alchemist, before pouring in chemicals, always observed where the fire first flared up, because that place is where the soul needs to be seen again. I began to live as if every part of my body was an old child looking for its mother. They don't need to be chased away. They just need to be held. I no longer fight the pain. I talk. I put my hand on the place that hurts like I would put my hand on the cheek of a loved one who has been silent for too long. And then, though the pain was not gone, I felt that I was no longer being burned. I was being illuminated. The light of the fire, first red, then yellow, then clear. And I believe, if I keep listening, one day, I will no longer hurt. Because there is nothing hidden. Pain is the last language your body uses to speak to you when you can no longer hear with your mind. But if you hear once, then from then on, the flame becomes light. There are days I don't want to do anything, not because I was lazy, not because I was bored. I just had no energy left. My body feels hollow. My arms and legs don't feel like they belong to me. Just getting out of bed is a journey. Have you ever had a day like this when you know everything that needs to be done? Everything that needs to be done, but your body can't move. I used to feel guilty back then. I looked at the pile of unfinished work, the unanswered messages, the canceled appointments, and blamed myself. Am I really useless just because of a little tiredness, a little fever? I give up. How can I continue living like this? I got up, tried to wash my face with cold water. I drank coffee. I turned on music. I tried, but the more I tried, the more I fell apart. Ancient alchemists called this moment the hidden burning point, where the fire no longer glows brightly, but smolders beneath the ashes. No more reaction, no more resistance, no more anger, just surrender, literally. And strangely enough, it was then that something very different began to happen. I lay still. For once, no struggle, no attempt to stand up for honor, no attempt to look good, no image, just breathing. Breathe, as if every cell in my body is asking permission to. live again, from the beginning. And that's when I heard myself, not familiar thoughts, not a reproachful voice, but a very gentle sound, the sound of life. Living is not running. It is not doing. It is not carrying. To live is just to breathe, to be present, even if you can't do anything. Have you ever allowed yourself a day to just breathe and not apologize for it? Fulcanelli wrote in his chapter on calcination, when the fire has gone through its first cycle, matter no longer resists. It no longer burns. It lies still, accepting the heat, ready for purification. I think the day of no more strength is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the fire inside has penetrated enough. No more pretending, no more acting, no more proving. There is only one real body and one soul waiting to be met. Without role, without responsibility. I didn't get better that day. I didn't find a solution either. But I realized I have lived for many years without ever lying down by myself. I started allowing myself to rest as a ritual. Don't see it as giving up. No self-blame, no excuses. Just honoring a flame that has burned too long, because the fire also needs to be extinguished to let the ashes settle. And from that ashes, the gold will appear. If you are having such a day, please do not get up yet. Lie down. Listen to your heart. Breathe slowly. Don't think. Don't try to be anyone else. Because sometimes, the first healing doesn't come from medicine or willpower. It comes from the right to be tired. The day you lose your strength may be the first day you truly live. Because from that day on, you will no longer try to please others, but will begin to learn to be content with yourself. No one told me that. Healing also means loss. I thought, after tiring days, after sleepless nights, after moments of giving up, I would return, fuller, brighter, more whole. But no, I don't come back. I fall away. Some relationships just fall apart. Some habits no longer want to keep. Some beliefs don't suit me anymore. I thought I was just detoxifying my body. But it turns out that alchemical fire does not distinguish between body and mind. It burns away everything that is no longer honest. I remember one morning, I opened my phone, and suddenly I no longer wanted to text the person I used to text every day. Not out of hate, not out of anger, just simply nothing more to say. I looked at the long conversation, the familiar sentences, the memorized symbols, and suddenly felt strange. I put the phone down. No text, no deletion. Just realized something inside me had fallen. Fulcanelli once wrote, "When the calcination reaches its peak, the non-precious metal parts will separate out on their own. Without pressing, they leave because they cannot stand the clarity of the fire." I read that line again and understood I'm not abandoning myself. I'm just becoming more transparent. And what's not real doesn't stick. Have you ever lost someone after a long illness? Ever left a job? Ever left a community? And have you ever noticed? It doesn't make you so sad. It makes you light. That's what made me cry. I don't cry because I lost it. I cry because I don't need it anymore. The parts I once considered me were now just shells. And the smoldering fire of pain burned away that shell without me even realizing it. I started cleaning, inside and out. I gave away a piece of clothing that used to fit me, but no longer fits me. I delete conversations that no longer resonate with me. I reprised a few roles I was once good at: the overly nice guy, the professional optimist, the always okay guy. I let myself be raw, not slick, not comfortable, not universally understood, but true. Fulcanelli writes, "The ashes of matter need not be regretted, for from them light will be born." Are you carrying a part of yourself that has been burned to ashes, but you still try to hold on? An old relationship, a belief, a role, an image. If so, try to let it fall. No need to try to let go. Just allow the fire to do its thing. I used to be afraid that I would lose myself if I changed too much. But now, I understand the true self is never lost. Only the outer shell is melted in the fire. I am not the person I was, and I am not looking to go back. I let myself become every time I lose something. I feel closer to the pure part that has never been named. Healing is not just about mending. It is also about falling away. Fire does not pity, but fire does not lie. What is no longer you becomes ashes. What is still you becomes gold. I used to think the fire would go out with a bang, like a firecracker, like the instant. But no. It subsided like the last breath of a long night that had burned everything. No warning, no echo, no vengeance, just an eerie silence. That morning, I opened my eyes and no longer felt pain, not because the pain is gone completely, but because I no longer fight it. I don't wake up in a hurry. I don't check my messages. I don't think, what do I need to do today to prove I'm okay? I just lay still, feeling like ashes after fire, like light after storm, like mind after repentance. Fulcanelli has a very nice line. When matter no longer reacts with fire, it has entered purity. The fire no longer burns, but keeps warm. I read that line again and smiled, because now, my pain is no longer my opponent. It is my companion. No more arguing. No more asking when will it end. No more trying to ease it. There is only settling. Have you ever experienced such a moment when life stops rushing, stops screaming, and starts whispering? I realized peace is not a reward. It is a sign that the fire has done its job. That day, I made tea, not to stay awake, just to listen to the sound of boiling water. I touched the cup as if it were something ancient, warm, and real. Not because it was precious, but because I was present. And that was the moment I knew I've passed the first stage. I'm entering the light without any flares. In that silence, many things emerged. Not a lesson, not a philosophy, just a kind of wisdom without words. I looked out the window at the trees. The leaves didn't shake. There was no wind. The birds didn't fly. And everything was alive. No trying, no doing, just being, completely. I wrote in my diary today, I don't heal, I don't change. I just breathe and find that I no longer owe myself anything. Fulcanelli once likened alchemical fire to the breath of the universe. First is incineration, then is burning, then is settling, and finally is rebirth. I am not reborn, but I am no longer disintegrated, and that is enough for today. What stage are you in your journey? Still burning or settled? If you are worried, please stay still. Don't start anything new. Don't repaint the burned area. Let the ashes rest. Because from ash, gold is fermented. The fire doesn't burn forever. It only needs to burn long enough for you to know what's real. Then it settles down, so you can start living without fear of fire. I used to think, when I healed, something big would happen. I will be happier. I will be full of energy. I will write again. Love again. Live like I never hurt before, I thought. When the gold appeared, it would be so bright that it would be impossible not to see. But then, gold came. Not with light, not with victory, not with applause, but with such silence that it can be ignored. That morning, I woke up and no longer thought about the pain. Not because it disappeared, but because it was no longer the center of my life. I walk slowly, without purpose, without a watch, without step counting. I make tea, not to stay awake, but to listen, to smell, to hear the sound of water mixing with soil. I sat for a long time, just watching the sunlight change color on the floor. And for the first time in months, I felt present in time, no longer running before it, no longer afraid after it. Just a small, but complete, part of it. Fulcanelli once noted, "When real gold appears, it does not light up the whole room. It just makes a small corner of your heart so clear that nothing else can penetrate there." I understand, because my heart, that morning, was no longer full of worries. Not because everything is okay, but because I don't need everything to be okay to live anymore. Have you ever found yourself laughing? For no particular reason. Laughing, not because of happiness, but because you no longer resist. I did. A small smile in the middle of a very ordinary day. No one saw, no one asked. But I knew I just entered the golden zone. I did not instantly become a positive person. I did not instantly become a sage. I did not instantly become an enlightened being. I still forget, still hesitate, still often sit and sigh. But I'm not afraid of myself anymore. And that is the gold in alchemy. Not flash, not productivity, not success, which is a presence deep enough to need no further proof. I wrote in my diary, there are things that are no longer true to you, but you don't need to hate them. There are people who no longer belong to you, but you still hope they are at peace. I continued. There was something in me that was quiet enough to stop running and bright enough to not need a spotlight. Fulcanelli once emphasized, alchemy is not material. It is the deep unity of the inner and outer worlds. When there is no gap between perception and presence, then it happens. I don't know if I'm there yet. Maybe not. Maybe not yet. Maybe never. But I know I'm living as if I were very close to it. Are you living in the midst of ordinary things, but feel your heart is no longer stirred? Would you go through a day without pain, but without joy either, just to be yourself? If so, you are touching gold. Even if no one sees, even if no one applauds, gold does not come with a bell. It comes with a morning without gloom, a breath without haste, a walk without purpose but full of presence. That is where alchemy ends, and that is where life begins. Truly, I used to look at my body like a machine. Some days it's good, some days it's bad. Sometimes strong, sometimes weak. There are mornings when I call it impotent. There are evenings when I curse it as wrecked. There are days when I pray that I would have another body, but after the journey I just went through, I stood in front of the mirror and could no longer see my skin. I see a temple, not majestic, not perfect, not built by anyone, no ceremony to celebrate, but it is the only place where my soul has ever resided from birth until this moment. Fulcanelli once wrote, "The real furnace is not outside the cave, but within the very structure of the alchemist. Every acupuncture point, every bloodline, every bone is part of the great ritual." I understood that. The first time I touched the old scar on my shoulder and didn't find it ugly, I see it as a mark of the journey, not a mistake, not a mark, but a signature of fire. I began to touch every part of my body with a tenderness I had never given myself before. Not to check for disease, not to find fault, just to say hello. Hello, shoulder. You have carried a lot of things I dare not say. Hello, back. You have borne the brunt of responsibility. Hello, eyes. You have seen things no one knows I have witnessed. Every part, every area, every corner in that temple is a witness. Nothing in me is useless. No place is superfluous. Are you living in your own temple? Or are you running away from it, denying it, demanding it instead? Your body has heard every word you mumbled about it. It knows when you blame. It remembers when you forget. And it stays, even if you scold, even if you resent, even if you try to leave it many times. I began to live as if I were rebuilding a temple. No need to rebuild, just clean up. Every meal is an offering. Every sleep is a restoration. Every breath is a prayer. Fulcanelli has a beautiful example when the furnace is turned off and the gold has not yet appeared. Clean all the utensils again, for otherwise the real gold will not want to appear. I can't call gold back, but I can prepare space for it. And that space was my body. Every cell, every tissue, every sensitive area that I was once ashamed of. Now, I don't apply creams to look younger. I don't do breathing exercises to get healthier. I don't go to bed early for recovery efficiency. I do it because I am taking care of a temple, and I am the only caretaker. Do you see your body as a temple? If not, stand in front of a mirror today. Not to fix, not to compare, just to meet again the friend who has been with me on every journey, through every land, and never betrayed me. The body is not a tool. It is a ritual. It is a crucible. It is a temple that if you enter with respect, the gold will no longer need to hide itself. There was a fire that used to scare me. Because it didn't go out. Because it didn't warn. Because it didn't pity. It burned away the parts I loved. It burned away the roles I held dear. It drilled into the deepest parts of my body and mind, where I thought I couldn't reach. And then it fell apart. I used to call that fire pain. I used to hate it, run away from it, bargain with it. But today, after a long journey through the darkness, through letting go, through loss, through silence, I put my hand on my chest and realized it's still here, but not the burner, but the warmer. Fulcanelli once wrote, "When metal is burned to the core, the ash is not the end. It is the foundation for light, and the light does not come from outside. It burns in the heart that has once melted." I read that line again today, as if for the first time understanding what it really meant, because now, looking back, I don't see a series of days of overcoming illness. I don't see a victory journey. I just see a soul learning to live in this body, no longer afraid of pain, no longer needing to be strong, Do you have a fire in your heart that you cursed, an old wound, a loss, a time of crisis that you thought you would never get over? Try placing your hand on your chest and ask that fire, where is it now? Is it still burning, or has it turned into light? I wrote in my diary, the last line after this 10-part journey: I don't want to stop hurting anymore. I want to understand why I hurt. I no longer seek healing from the outside in. I choose to live from the inside out, a little gold each day. I seek peace no more, for I have found it in the very fire that once burned me to pieces. Now, I live as if that fire is in my heart, not to destroy, but to keep me awake. I won't say much about this journey, won't recount it in too much detail, won't turn it into a legend, because transformation is so quiet. It shows up in the way you pour water, the way you listen to music, the way you walk aimlessly and still feel alive. Are you living like this? No rush, no pressure, no trying to be good, just coming home. The best alchemist, Fulcanelli said, is not the one who holds the secret, but the one who can keep the fire in his heart all his life without letting it burn anyone else. I'm learning that every day, gently, without expectations, without measurements, because I know from this day forward, everything I do, everyone I touch, every step I take will have a spark accompanying it. Transformation is not the end of pain. It is when you put fire in your heart and let it light your way. No burning, no clapping, just remembering you were alive. You were broken, and now you are present as a flame that knows how to love.